Should Alex Karaban stay or should he go? You're Locked On UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Do me a quick favor, see that little button on the bottom of your screen. Click subscribe. It helps our channel grow, our audience grow. And frankly, I truly appreciate all of your support. It's invaluable to me and the Locked On Podcast Network. If you're listening in your car or an audio device, do me a favor, shoot me a 5-star review. And finally, a special shout out to my everydayers. Thanks for giving this new UConn content a new shot and spreading the gospel of UConn hoops. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets. That's $150 in bonus bets on any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So I'm going to take this little ticker off so it doesn't distract people. But if you love the podcast, subscribe now. Let's take that off. Let's get into the crux of the show. We're one day away from the deadline. We will be getting some college basketball and NBA draft news in the next 30 or so hours. Tomorrow marks the NCAA deadline for players testing the waters. I think literally the ending is 11:59 p.m. Eastern, whether they will return to college or for another season or stay in the draft. And for those of you listening, I'm sure you're worried and super interested about Caleb Love from Arizona, right? Or Mark Sears from Alabama. Maybe it's Hunter Salas from Wake Forest, Johnny Furphy from Kansas. No, it's all about Alex Karaban for UConn fans and really for college basketball in general, because I don't have the answer of whether AK is staying or going. But what I do have is an absolute appreciation for his commitment to excellence. And ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves at a fascinating crossroads in the career of Alex Karaban. As we stand on what could be one of the most significant decisions of his life, we dive into the profile of his stellar career for the forward who's deciding whether to chase an unprecedented third straight national title or declare for the NBA draft. Not since the now late, great Bill Walton's UCLA teams has a program had a chance to go for history like this. It would have been fascinating to hear Mr. Walton talk about his take on UConn going for a three-peat. But let's take a step back. Let's talk about Alex and appreciate him for who he is now and who he is potentially going forward. Here's a kid from Massachusetts who's created nothing short of a remarkable legacy for himself at UConn. From Algonquin Regional High School to New Hampton School and finishing a stint at IMG Academy, Alex's journey has been all about growth and development. UConn nabbed Alex. He wasn't, the highly touted recruit. He was ranked 95th in the 24/7 Sports Composite for 2021. Karaban chose UConn over programs like familiar programs and faces, Creighton and Providence. But he's been a pivotal piece in retooling UConn's offense and culture. Revered for his basketball IQ, Alex is often referred to as the brain center. His incredible understanding of the game makes him a coach on the floor. How many times have we talked about positional versatility? Alex has that. He can do it all. Play threes, fours, even step in for a five. He excels in movement, cutting, clean dribble exchanges. His ability to fire three-pointers at range aligns perfectly with UConn's data-driven strategy. At 6'8", he can play multiple positions, as we said, making him a matchup nightmare for opponents. And influenced by a fundamentally sound training background, Alex excels in ball handling, passing, reading defenses. The impressive part is Karaban's efficient type of play is what UConn craves now and the NBA scouts rave about. His impact on team efficiency is huge. When he's on the floor, UConn's adjusted offensive efficiency soars to 2 times its normal points per possession. Essentially, he makes everyone around him better. Alex is more than just stats. His leadership and communication are invaluable. Here's a quote from Dan Hurley himself. He's just like the perfect modern player and problem solver. I don't think I was trying to do a Dan Hurley impression, but I may have tried a little bit there. I don't think I have his Jersey accent down. His toughness and dedication to getting better are just admirable. They're pretty damn inspirational. Alex is that perfect player, if you will. And it's not just our coaching staff. Marquette's head coach Shaka Smart, after a game where his team was torn apart by UConn, he had high praise for Alex, saying he's a winning guy. He impacts the game in a myriad of ways. And then there's Tom Moore, UConn's assistant coach, saw Alex's potential early on, viewing him as a crucial piece in transitioning UConn's offense to new heights. And I think Tom Moore has seen quite a few perfect pieces to puzzles as he's won multiple national titles at UConn with 2 different coaching staffs, including just incredible. Tom Moore, please, would love to have you on. I feel like you're the underappreciated special sauce of the UConn culture, of the UConn coaching staff. Dan gets his flowers. Kamani gets his flowers. Luke Murray gets his flowers. Tom Moore, come to Locked On UConn. All of the staff can come to Locked On UConn, but I have such a special affinity for Tom Moore, being an older guy, knowing that he was a part of Calhoun's staff as well. But here comes the big question. Will Alex jump to the NBA or stay for an unprecedented 3rd straight national title with UConn? Let's talk pros and cons right now. I mean, he has the strengths for the NBA, the basketball IQ, the versatility, qualities that are highly coveted in the NBA, where quick decision-making and adaptability are key. The analytical offense that teams run. Just look at the teams that are going to be playing in the NBA Finals, the Dallas Mavs and the Boston Celtics. What do they excel at, both of them? They have their stars. Alex is not a star, but he could fit in to a team that is driven by stars spreading the wealth to players who know how to be in the right position at the right time, who can shoot at scale, who can shoot threes and be a points per possession maven. He has incredible work ethic and fundamentals. That we're in a new age of the analytical player, where you don't have to be the elite athlete to make it as an NBA player, especially as a piece of a puzzle. So, reasons to stay. Legacy. I think staying would offer him a chance to solidify his place in college basketball history with a 3rd national title. I mean, that goes without saying. He'll go down as one of the best players to ever play at UConn, but he could be the most decorated men's basketball player at UConn history if he was to come back and win a 3rd national title. Another year could hone his skills even further for the NBA, prepping him to be an immediate impact player in the NBA versus being more of a role player. So there's some of that. The continuity within the current UConn roster and the system could make him even more dominant, where his numbers could jump and he could have that kind of Tristan Newton effect where he's an All-American. And then who knows? Sky's the limit. So look, Alex is at a defining moment in his career. Whether he decides to go pro or stay another year is contributing to UConn has been nothing. His contribution to UConn has been nothing short of spectacular. So stay tuned, folks. Because no matter which path he chooses, Alex is bound to make waves. Good or bad. Some people are not liking that he's taking this time, but he's earned it. He 100% has. And we could be looking at a historic 3rd national championship run if he stays. Our chances definitely go up. If he goes pro, the NBA is getting a player of immense work ethic, talent, high basketball intelligence. So as Alex stands at the precipice of this remarkable decision, no matter what he chooses, his future is exceptionally bright, and he'll always be welcome to the UConn family. And we're just so happy for his success. So, and if I'm making this decision, no one's asking me, trust me. But if someone said, if you're Alex Karaban, what do you do? I'm trusting in myself, and I'm going to go pro. If the feedback he's getting is what I think he's getting, and what I've heard from some NBA scouts that I've talked to is that this is the time to go. What else do you need to accomplish at UConn? Nothing. There's something about going out on top, and I just think you let the new guys carry the mantle for a potential three-peat. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion, and that's why we do the show, right? Well, we're going to talk about Dan Hurley and Luke Murray and their mad genius and appreciation of some pretty incredible offensive sets coming up after this. It's winner take all in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I don't know the odds on this, but I would imagine you'd get great odds for the Mavs to beat the Celtics. There's something about Luka and Kyrie right now, and the way this Mavs team is beating up on Minnesota, that I think, as good as Boston is, take the money, the plus money in an NBA Finals. That's the ticket there. Also, if you listen to me, I've been wrong about almost every NBA pick, so maybe don't. But either way, get in the action. FanDuel, take your bonus money and win some bets. All right, guys. So I wanted to do something a little different today. You know, we talked about Alex in his of the appreciation for his contributions at UConn, but I also wanted to talk about UConn's offense is so intricate, and they're committed to what I like to call masters of misdirection, disguising, creating action. The plays they draw up are now a culmination of creating a system of old school fundamentals with modern efficiency. So Danny went on JJ Redick's Old Man in the Three podcast recently and said this: they'll have formations and pace and tempo, cuts and action, have trips out of shotgun with two in the backfield. And what he's referring to is them watching a lot of college football. And then I think Kyle Shanahan in the NFL, just to give context. So there's like 8 things. This is back to Danny's quote. There's 8 things they can do: sweep, play action on a post. Going into this year, we got together and have about 10 different formations: floppy, irregular horns, inverted horns, a box set, 8 to 10 different formations that we could have wrinkles for shooters, wide pin, flare rescreens, jets, shrugs, staggers, finish with a ball screen action, deep post up, ISO for someone to drive it. Out of each formation, a defense will not know what they're going to do. So what I wanted to do today was find some favorite plays and talk through why they work. I wish I had the visual to share with you guys, but due to YouTube's trademark infringement aspects of things, I can't do it. So this is both equal parts genius on the coaches, but also the promising and reads the players make to sell the misdirections. When someone knows the ultimate goal is to get the best open look, it's a testament to the culture created. That word gets bandied about way too much, but you can create a great culture, but a culture of winning as well. Winning plays is different. Dan Hurley has done both. The culture of this guy cares about me, but it's also not wasting my talent. And I'm going to be the best version of myself possible. And honestly, that's all anyone in any field should strive for. Know who you are and be that. Be about that life. So let me jump down off my soapbox as I get all fired up to talk about UConn's offense. And let's talk about the first play. So I went back and looked at the last couple of years, 2023 Providence UConn Big East Tournament. This play is entitled Horns Elbow Flex 77 Ghost, a beautifully drawn up play that will result in a wide open elbow extended 3 from Alex Karaban. If you want to go check that out, type that into YouTube or X or Twitter. You'll find the play. Follow along. Tristan starts us off with a throw to Alex, or a pass. Adama fakes setting a back screen on Tristan's man. At the top of the key, Tristan drives down through the box. Alex then passes to Jordan Hawkins, right wing extended. He then down screens for Andre Jackson's man. Remember that Adama on the top of the key? He also gives a passive screen to Andre's man, who gets caught up in the wash. Alex tails Adama, who then goes to fake a down screen to Tristan's man, who's now circling back around from the corner, almost as part of a traditional weave. Adama dives down towards the basket. Alex fakes a screen on Tristan's man, who is coming off a weave pass, so he's trailing from Andre. And instead of slipping towards the basket, where there's congestion and traffic that Adama created, he fades out and gets a wide open three. A trailing Devin Carter is helpless. Easy bucket for UConn. I think the lead swells from 11 to 14 there. They ran the same play against St. Mary's, and this is where the variation that Danny was talking about comes into play, where Alex doesn't get quite as open, but the closeout was so hard it led to a drive where Alex kind of does a hard head fake. Defender flies by. He's able to pick up a foul. It results in 2 free throws. So options, right? And if any of that breaks down, the slips, the weaves, there's, as you heard from Danny, outlets. And when you have an All-American point guard like Tristan Newton, there's always an option to make a play if a team scouts this to perfection. By the way, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis and opinions and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The next play I scoped out was an out-of-bounds play. In the Northwestern game this year, it's a set piece, 4 flat stagger twirl. And so where this comes from is you have Tristan on the out of bounds. You have everybody lined up around the free throw line. DC far left, followed by AK, Steph, and Cam. And then Tristan's the inbounds man. So Cam loops left. Steph screens his guy. Alex loops to his right, looks to pick off Cam's guy. Cam fakes like he's going to back screen and then twirls or darts towards the rim, and it's an easy bucket. And why this works is both Steph and Alex use Klingon, his big body, as a screen, and the defense thinks this is to get an out-of-bounds open 3, like a lot of people like to get the corner 3. They overreact, and it leaves Cam underneath for an easy bucket. It's a beautiful play. Look it up. I love it. From 2023's Final Four against Miami. This is so I picked this play because everyone's talking about, well, we're short some muscle and we really need to find a traditional post presence if Alex Karaban goes pro. These are the type of plays, guys, that you don't need the traditional post guy that's going to, this isn't 1990 Knicks basketball. We dump it down to Patrick Ewing or Charles Oakley and they muscle their way to the basket. Everyone wants to have more muscle down low. I get that. We want more rebounding. But we create post plays through set pieces in the half court. This one's called box punch, and where we have a point guard up top, the rest of the team in the literally in the box, down low. R5 in this case from the Final Four last year. You have Sanogo down screening for Joey Calcaterra. Both Naheem Alim and Jared Hawkins are both going wide on the wings. Joey C receives the pass and hits Sanogo down for a low for an easy bucket. The key is Adama seals his man who doesn't know he's being set up. So because you have 40 plus 40% three-point shooters going out for catches, it makes the defense overreact, leaving the paint completely wide open. There is absolutely no traffic around. It's a beautifully run play because Sanogo is looking like he's setting screens, and literally he's got a wide open lane to the basket where Joey throws in the pass for an easy layup. One of the most common play is a double stagger where it's misdirection, but it's also, so that is everything that goes into any of these plays it's about the misdirection. So the fact that we have multiple wings going out to look like they're going to shoot a 3, and that's what it looks like because they start here and they crisscross each other to the outside. Adama seals his man off, gets a pass for a bucket. On to the next play. One of the most common plays is a double stagger, where it's a misdirection out of its core. And it's really just a plain as a pick and roll as Stockton Malone. But again, you get your point guard dribbling right. The action starts with the 5 and the 2 going opposite, setting up a weave with a quick exchange. You hit the 3 and getting the ball back to the point guard. So it's like that quick little dribble exchange where you hit your small forward You get the ball back into your point guard's hands. He flares out to the right, and now the 5, in this case, Adama Snogo, comes back to the center, and the shooting guard flares to the corner, and the center is being patient because this is a setup to, again, just to be a plain old pick and roll between Tristan Newton and Adama Snogo, and it's waiting for the ball screen to happen off the weave exchange. The defender gets clipped trying to get under the screen or over the screen. Sorry about that. And the center rolls to the basket for an easy layup because of the patience and the flow of the formation and the misdirection where people are flaring out. So it looks like there's more going on than there actually is. So my favorite play of the season is a horn set with Steph on the top of the key. And if you guys know the scenario, this is Purdue UConn national championship game. I think the lead got cut to 13, and it's the theme is Alex Karaban, right? So we're going to end this play with an Alex Karaban dunk. This is my favorite play of the season. It's a horn set with Steph on the top of the key, and they did this play quite a lot. So he's getting a screen from Cam Spencer. I love that action of a shooter being in that, so they have to make decisions. So Steph loops the ball to the left corner where Sampson, who's obviously not a threat to shoot a three, Zach Edey sees it, doesn't exactly come out hard to because he knows he doesn't have to go and attack a guy who can't shoot threes. He moves towards him, so it takes him just enough away from the basket, vacating the middle. While the ball is in the air, Cam is cutting hard towards Sampson to make it look like, oh, this is definitely Purdue thinking they're setting up a three-point attempt to get Spencer open. And Alex sets the screen for Cam. Before he even can think about it, he pivots, makes a hard slip to the hoop, and Sampson hits him for the two-handed dunk. And on the TBS call, you can actually hear Grant Hill say, what a slip. I think no matter what happens with Alex, we have a kid in Liam McNeely who can do all of these little things as well. That pedigree of being that McDonald's All-American, making a move like you're going to really set a hard screen and really just kind of like smack someone in the back and then slip to the hoop. And the beauty of this play, Mason Gillis and Fletcher Lawyer both bite on it because Cam is such a threat to shoot, but they don't take the slip. So if they do take the slip away, you have Cam as a shooter, but they both bite on Cam. And, if Edey stays home, the pass sets up Cam for an open three or a catch where he can probe for another shot. Again, options, right? That's what this UConn offense has done. They've created this culture where there's no slippage. There is always consistent offense, and that's why it's such a beautiful and joyful situation to watch this offense run. Well, we're going to talk about UConn's clutch players over the years, especially in postseason play, coming up after this. Great cultures are consistent, and that's how we're going to be. So we're going to try to mirror the team and the coaches we cover. So I say this to say we've had an incredible run of players in postseason play who are all-time postseason players in history. You have Richard Hamilton, national title, 15-2 in his postseason career. Emeka Okafor, 19-3 in his postseason career, won a national championship. Kemba Walker, 15-3 in his postseason career, won a national championship. Shabazz Napier, 2 national championships, 21-3 in his career. Tristan Newton, 2 national championships, most outstanding player, 16-1 in his career in the postseason. Donovan Clingan, 16-1 in his postseason career, 2 national championships. So, if he returns, Alex Karaban has the opportunity to become the most decorated UConn Husky on the men's side in history. But I wanted to put out my top 5 clutch Huskies in terms of postseason play. So I don't have an order. I just picked 5 that are my contemporaries, and I'm curious to see what the UConn community thinks is theirs, right? So I also want to say, guys, whenever I put out a list, my top 5, my top 10, my names of fun players to watch, etc. If you have different players, that's okay, because all of this stuff is subjective. It is 100% your right to say, you're a moron, Mark. I thought this guy was the best, most clutch player. And how could you forget that Shabazz Napier didn't win 2 national championships? I got that one time. Because I'm a human being and I make mistakes. But my top 5 most clutch UConn players are the following. Khalid El-Amin. Free throws to win UConn's first national title to get us over the hump against Duke. Those were clutch. How about the clutch 3 and then bucket against Pittsburgh, where he jumps on the road when they were calling him a fat, point guard and all this different stuff. Absolute ice water in his veins. Shabazz Napier, 2-time national champion. Clutch, buzzer beaters against Florida. Just clutch shot after clutch shot in the run with a Kevin Ollie-led team to get UConn's, at that time, 4th national championship. Tate George. I know we don't like to talk about Tate George because he's had some bad dealings in his career outside of basketball, but Tate George winning Sweet 16 buzzer beater after having, I think, a 16-point lead against Clemson in that game to kind of piss that away, and then now you have a full court length of the court shot, a throw from Scott Burrell pass to then get a shot off with 1 second to go. Thank God they didn't have replay back then, because I don't necessarily know if he got it off in time. But that was not a part of college basketball replay. So Tate George has got to be on the list. It's one of the biggest shots in UConn history. Then you got to go Richard Hamilton. Buzzer beater against Washington in the Elite Eight in 97, 98. And then the next year having a clutch performance against Duke. Clutch against Ohio State in Scooney Penn-led team. You can even throw Ricky Moore in that mix, because Ricky Moore had huge games against Georgetown as a freshman, against Duke as a senior. But I think my all-time most clutch player at UConn is Kemba. It was in his genes. The guy was an absolute killer from his freshman year on. Went on a crazy run. Who can forget Cardiac Kemba? It's just he was an incredible player. I mean, even as we're not talking about the NBA, but as a former season ticket holder of the Hornets, watching him hit buzzer beaters at the NBA level, I just knew it was his Kemba time. So those are my 5-6 guys up there. I threw Ricky Moore in there, not because he came on the show, but because he just popped in my head. He had these incredible moments that were clutch and saved UConn from time after time. Give me yours. I want it to be interactive. Please use the email lockedonucon@gmail.com. Use the community page on the Locked On UConn YouTube page to post things there. But I'll have to tell you, really excited about the future with Locked On UConn and where we're going. If I don't have an Alex Karaban specific show tomorrow, have a little personal business to attend to for the next couple of days. So if the shows are recorded and it's not real time, I apologize. Life happens and got to take care of some personal business. But just to let you know, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports show, 24/7 streaming on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day, plus our local experts of Locked On and covering our national shows and covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now, available on the free Fire TV channels app. This has been another episode of Locked On UConn. I'm your host, Mark Zanetto, asking you to stay locked in, stay connected, make sure your toughness meter is always rising, and as always, go Huskies.